My name's Toby Young. I'm covering Boris Johnson's bid to become the next Mayor of London for The Spectator, and I'm also making a video diary of the mayoral campaign for the Spectator website. It's September 27th, the day Boris has been selected as the Conservative Party's mayoral candidate. To get a sense of the issues he's likely to face, I went along to a panel discussion organised by Editorial Intelligence and sponsored by The Business on who would make the best mayor for the city. The first person to speak was Damien Rees, the Telegraph's city editor. He believes that Boris has yet to convince the city he'd be a better mayor than Kent Livingstone.
Past 10 years, Mr. Chairman, it may well be time for change at City Hall, but at the moment, until Boris's policies are much more clearly articulated, and those of the Lib Dems, of course, mustn't forget them, people in business and the city, anyway, I think, will err on the side of caution and vote for the devil they know.
Next up was Simon Nixon, the executive editor of BreakingViews.com. He too is unimpressed by Boris's attitude to the financial services industry.
Virtuous golden goose, and in fact I even rang one of the candidates, who I won't name, to say to him, ask him what his policy was towards the city, and he replied, "Oh golly, crikey, no, do I really need one?" So I'm not going to say who it was.
By far the most aggressive attack on Boris was launched by Guardian columnist Jonathan Freedland. He began by questioning his ability.
He isn't. I think the first and most important quality the city with a capital C and everyone else looks for is competence. And I'm afraid I don't think the most benign word you could use for Boris Johnson on that score is to say unproven. You could say running a weekly magazine isn't the test of running the world's biggest, most important, or the world's greatest city. There is no parallel there. But I think you can go...
He went on to question his judgment.
Is he somebody whose judgment just has to be the subject of great doubt. On every issue I think that matters, he just has a habit of being quite consistently wrong. So he was against the congestion charge, along with other Conservatives. He's now changing that position, but not clearly. He was against the Kyoto Treaty, cheered George W. Bush for crumpling it up. He was wrong on the Iraq War. He's just consistently wrong.
And he concluded by attacking Boris's racial insensitivity.
Internationally minded. I don't think it's plausible to have a candidate to have a mayor who has said and written the things Boris Johnson has said and written about race and diversity. I just don't think that's possible. People think you should, take it as a joke, but somebody who is able, in their vocabulary, to use a word like pickaninnies to describe black people, to talk about people with watermelon smiles, lowering their machetes and stopping hacking each other to death for cannibalistic purposes, is not fit, I don't think, to lead a diverse city like this one.
Indeed, he reiterated this point, repeating it for a second time.
And it's something odd in London. We think it's somehow a joke or acceptable. Somebody who would be the figurehead, it's partly symbolic, has used languages which may not be fine for us, maybe white in this room sitting there thinking it's funny. It is hugely offended and alienated one-third of this city that is not white.
Then repeating it for a third time.
If one community or several communities in this country, in this city, are really feeling very, very strongly that for the rest of us to choose this person that I'm talking about, that they would be somehow being ignored and their feelings being trampled on, I think that's something everybody should really be taking more seriously. Even if they eventually project it, we should at least be listening to it. The moment I get a sense we're not even hearing it, I think that's storing up trouble.
Okay, thanks very much. And,
One of the people in the audience was Phoebe Vella, who worked with Boris at The Spectator for 2 years. Did she think he was racist?
Not at all. Not at all. I think, if anything, Boris is more pro-ethnic minorities. I never had a problem with him. I don't think he has anything against ethnic minorities at all, and I don't think it would be a problem. I think it's just more of a smear against his character more than anything else.
Do you think he, if not an out-and-out racist, do you think he lacks racial sensitivity, using words like pickaninnies and so forth?
I think it's just more Boris sort of slipping, as it were, just saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I don't think it's a reflection on his beliefs at all.
I have to confess to being slightly shocked by Jonathan Freedland's attack on Boris. Doesn't he realise that to accuse someone of racism is the contemporary equivalent of accusing someone of being a communist sympathiser in 1950s America. And he's normally a fairly liberal guy, so it's bizarre that he should so casually traffic in this sort of McCarthyism. I've known Boris for over 20 years, and he isn't a racist, not least because he's one quarter Turkish, as he'd be the first to tell you. I think to trawl through a journalist's output in an effort to detect some evidence of political incorrectness is ludicrous. Of course you're going to find inappropriate remarks, inflammatory material in there, because Boris is such a provocative writer. He sails very close to the wind. That's what makes him such an entertaining read, and indeed a much, much better columnist than Jonathan Freedland. This is Toby Young reporting for The Spectator on the Boris Johnson mayoral campaign.